Welcome, everyone, to the Rose of Sharon Family Word Table Talk. I'm Sharon Vines, and it is a privilege to be here to share this table talk with the family. Our scripture tonight is found in Psalms 119, 105, and it says, Your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light unto my path. And I can hardly wait to introduce our co-host for tonight. We have something very special for you. It's exciting and it's a fresh table talk that's going to be led by our co-host tonight, Bobbi Rozann Broome from Los Angeles, California. Hey, Bobbi.
Hey.
Bobbi is in her second year of graduate school at USC with the graduation date of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, congratulations. She's in a film and TV production program. So again, welcome, Bobbi. And our focus is going to be on social media. And we have wonderful, lovely family members with us today among the Gen Z and millennials. And we're going to discuss social media. You guys grew up with social media, right? So this is going to be a very enlightening conversation. But first, let me introduce our guest. We have Ben Ide, and he lives in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He is a PhD candidate at the University of Michigan, and he is a graduate student research assistant. Welcome, Ben. Hey.
Hello.
Good to see
Glad
you.
to be here. Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Good to see you, nephew. Next, we have Kyasia Goodlow, my cousin, and she lives in Kenosha, Wisconsin. She's a secretary at Indian Trail High School. She just received that position. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's also pretty much a newlywed, a year and a half, and she has a 9-month-old beautiful daughter, Milani. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Congratulations. I bet she keeps you busy too.
Very much so.
And we have LJ Turner, who lives in Tucson, Arizona. It must be hot, hotter than Atlanta right there, right? You staying cool?
Trying to, best I can.
All right. And so you, I understand, are a future firefighter. Congratulations.
All right.
We welcome all of you. And Bobbi, I just can't wait to get started. Now, tonight, Dr. Rose is not with us, so we'll miss her tonight, but we'll see her again next week. So, Bobbi, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead, my dear.
Okay, welcome everybody this late afternoon, early evening, depending on what time zone you're in. For me, it's about 5:30, so good afternoon, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about social media. We're doing this topic because it's something that's current, it's fresh, and it's something that all of us have been exposed to at least once in our lives. So we're just gonna have a conversation here, but I do want to say that social media is something that I personally have had lots of ups and downs with, and I think it'd just be nice to get the perspective of some other folks. So
Right.
I want to ask Kyasia first. So what do you use social media? And if so, what do you think are the pros and cons of social media in your life?
Yes, I do use social media. Of course, I use like the basics, Facebook, Instagram. I'm still a Snapchat person. I do have some friends on there that I still, I'm able to see and communicate with through there. But I use social media for a connection source. I've connected to a lot of people through social media. That's how I technically got with my husband. So he's from Gary. So, I don't live in Gary. And so we kind of connected through social media. So I think social media is really good for like connecting, just in meeting different people in a very safe and nice way. You got to use discernment, just add any and everybody. But I think it's a good way to just connect with different people on different levels and different things like that, and just talk and get to know each other.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. I've made a lot of friends through Instagram, people that I've actually never met in person, but we're friends, and it's just like that. It's just like a mutual understanding. So I definitely agree with the connection. Ben, do you have anything in your personal life, pros and or cons, that you faced with social media?
Yeah.
You care to elaborate?
Yeah, there have been. I mean, there's some Facebook drama that I've seen, some, positive things that I've seen, a lot of YouTube videos, but like, I don't know, never really Twitter. I don't really,
Yeah,
I don't really care too much for it.
Twitter is a different world for sure.
Yeah, Neil Brennan actually has a great bit about it. He says that he's got this, he's addicted to this game on his phone, and you're in this little world, and you create a profile and you create these avatars, and then you do your best to murder each other. It's called Twitter.
Yeah. Sounds kind of
And
accurate.
yeah, no, so like I've never really, like, I have a Twitter, but I don't use it ever. I haven't used it since I made it, so it's just sitting there, I guess, or it's been deleted. I don't know. Don't really care. But uh I have messed with Instagram some, but other than that, like, I probably the one to use most would be Facebook, but even then it's like
Would you
once or twice a month, something like that.
So would you say that you're active on social media, or you're inactive, and why or why not, I guess?
I don't know, and it's just never really seemed all that important. And it seems like it's caused more harm than good. I prefer like meeting with somebody in person and talking to them, face to face, or I mean, at least over the phone if that's not possible, or Zoom, I guess nowadays.
That's a good point. And, you brought up something, causing more harm than good, which we're going to talk about a little later on. So I'm glad that you brought that to our attention. But before we get to that, I want to ask you, LJ, do you have any pros and cons of social media in your life that you've experienced personally?
The pros is staying in contact with like family, friends from high school, whatever. Being able to see like how far they've come or like what they're doing to life and stuff like that. That's the pros. And also another pro is like contacting people, like, for example, the chief of Northwest Fire Department out here found me on Facebook and he reached out to me. So that's like, if it wasn't for Facebook, I probably wouldn't like becoming a firefighter. Like, and some cons for sure are like people using social media to be nosy or like to start drama. A big con for me that like this is why I don't like post like flashy stuff on Snapchat, because one of my friends was posting like his money and jewelry and stuff on Snapchat, and like later that night he got set up, and yeah, like stuff like that. But there's some.
Do you make it out?
There's for sure some cons. I would say there's probably more. It just depends. Like there's more pros and cons if you use it right. If you use it the right way. But,
yeah, you got to be smart about it for sure.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for me personally, I've been trying to escape the clutches of Instagram for like a year and a half, 2 years at this point, but I keep coming back. I've been trying to let loose, but the thing is like I keep coming back because I'm like, well, what if I get like a DM for like a job opportunity, like what you just mentioned, because that happens quite often, I guess. And it's like I don't want to miss out on an opportunity because I'm not on Instagram or something like that. And it's always something that's in the back of my mind. So I get that. Personally, like I've had some cons where I stumble across like a website or an account that I don't really want to see, or like if people are posting like videos of people like being harmed, murdered, stuff like that. Like I don't want to see that. And I wish people would stop retweeting it onto my timeline. You know, it's very triggering. And I think a lot of people have a lot of discourse about how we're like completely numbed out to excess violence because of social media, because like it's uncensored and whatnot. So I think there's definitely a lot that can be said, but you definitely got to know how to use it. So a new user, like somebody that's just joining these accounts, these profiles, they wouldn't necessarily know their way around it. So they'd be more susceptible to seeing unwanted content, I guess. But you just got to know about yourself in that sense. So which brings me to my next question, which is, what have you learned about yourself since, I guess, your social media genesis? Per se. So I'll start with you, Ben. What have you learned about yourself, I guess, like since you started your Twitter account but then didn't use it, and you're active on Facebook, kind of. So what has that taught you about yourself, how you prefer to interact with people, and you know, about that?
Well, I think what it's taught me is that I can't really interact with somebody via text only. It's just too dehumanized. It's too disengaged. You know what I mean? So it's harder for me to feel aggression in the real world versus online. Just sort of naturally. It's a lot easier for me to just see it as text on a screen rather than, you know, as a person on the other side of the keyboard. And so I just kind of I think that's why I stay away from it, because I recognize that it wasn't healthy for me. And so I just decided to, you know, not to engage with it, I guess.
Nice. I think it's always great to do what's best for our own mental health in that sense.
Yeah.
So which we have another point about that. So let's talk about mental health a little bit. So Kyasia, how would you say social media has impacted your mental health?
I don't think it's really made a big difference, to be honest. I don't have a lot of like crazy people on my social media accounts. Like I said, I try to use discernment when like adding people, especially now being an adult and married and I'm having a child. First of all, I don't really have time to always sit on there. But I mean, if I can just think back simply 2 years ago, I mean, just honestly, I don't know. I just don't have a lot of crazy people on there. So social media is not like it doesn't have a big effect on me. And even if it was to get to that point, I would definitely take a break or just delete it, you know, all. Because I feel like it shouldn't be that crazy. I don't think it was created to be this hectic and chaotic and toxic, I guess, is the new norm, you know, I guess the new word. So I think like we just have to kind of use it in moderation. And then after that, I guess, you know, do as you please. But honestly, it doesn't really have a big effect on my mental health because I've chosen to like know who I am. And I've decided, you know, to figure out who I am as a person. So seeing other people on social media, because I feel like I think when you asked Ben that question about, my memory comes back to me really quick. You asked about.
What have you learned?
Yes. Wait, what'd you say?
What have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, what have you learned about yourself? Yeah, I was sitting here thinking like, you know, what have I learned about myself? But I think oftentimes we get wrapped into what we see on social media and what people portray to be like the new norm, or you have to be an influencer, or you have to be making buku money and different things like that. And we feel like we get upset at ourselves because we're not in that same place. And so I just kind of look at it like, you know, I know who I am. I try not to allow social media to affect how I treat my own self and even people around me, or even how I view myself and people around me. That everybody has different lives and you're only getting a glimpse on social media. We're not getting all of it, no matter how much people post, no matter how much people share, or how many, how many likes you get, or whatever the case may be. Ultimately, I mean, you're who you are comes from God. And so I look at it from there. I get my, who I am from God, and I don't let social media prove anything. So I don't let it get to me that bad. And like I said, if it was to ever get to that point, I would definitely cut it off and ask God, what else would you want for me to do? Because clearly it's taking up time, or it's taking up a place in my life where it's causing me to get to a point where I'm not healthy mentally. And I don't think God would create such a platform or allow for me to be engulfed in a platform where that's the case, where I'm losing myself mentally or even physically, emotionally, whatever the case could be, where it's affecting me as a person. So I don't let it affect me. It hasn't affected my mental health. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that answers it. And good for you, honestly, because there's been some horror stories for real coming out of social media because people's mental health are affected. Like no one's gonna post their rejection letters, like we only see acceptance letters. Like no one's gonna post their business getting foreclosed on, but we definitely see when they bought that business, So I remember when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time on Tumblr. I think I spent like one entire summer on Tumblr straight. It was crazy. Okay. But I remember in the community, there was one girl who was like super big. She had thousands and thousands of followers. And one person got jealous of her because she finally posted a selfie, like a face reveal, and we finally got to see what she looked like. And one person got super jealous, and that one person started like a whole crusade of like hate pages towards her, only directed at her, and then got like all of her friends turn against her, like found her address. It was just terrible, and it led the girl to attempt to take her life. She survived, luckily. But the fact that that's not even an isolated story is very concerning, because it really does have real world implications on people's lives, and stuff like that is scary. So when you're able to stay grounded and stay focused on who you are as a person, especially in the age of social media, like that is such a positive, great character trait right there, because it's hard for sure. And so LJ, I'm gonna ask you, so how do you think, based on what we were just talking about, how do you think social media has affected your behavior in the real world?
It doesn't affect me. I just be myself. If they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. Because there's a lot of like, I wouldn't say fake people, but like, just like what you said, like they show only like their the good things that happen. Like they don't show everything. So like you can't base yourself off of someone else. You can't judge your chapter 1 to like someone else's chapter 1, because like everybody's story is different. So like, just be yourself. That's all.
That's that on that. There's no need to front for anyone ever, but people stay doing it, and I don't know why. Personally, what's there to prove? My friend started a new job, okay, and at the job, this person came in and was like posting on Instagram story all the new product that they got, talking about, big things only, look at all this money I got. As soon as he says so then he stopped the recording, and then my friend, he tells him how much the order costs, and he's like, nah, put it back, put all of it back, because he can't afford it. But yeah, he was just posting on Instagram, big things only, like, come on, why are you fronting? So stuff like that, to me, it's very extra for no reason. So yeah, just be yourself. I think you got a word there. So I know there's, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, like the big ones, but we don't hear a lot of discourse about other apps such as like Pinterest, Goodreads, social media for book lovers. I use Letterboxd, which is like a social media app for movie people, stuff like that. So I just want to know, like, do you guys use other smaller social media apps, or do you stick to the big ones? Yeah. So I'll ask you, Kyasia, do you have like small ones that you use, or just the big ones?
No, I just pretty much use the.
And if you do, how's it been helpful?
I'm sorry. No, I don't use any smaller apps. I mean, I was using Periscope when it was out. But I started using it before it got super big, and now like no one's really on it. But I don't really use anything like any apps that are like smaller and people haven't, don't know about it yet.
Yeah. Do you LJ, Ben, do you guys use smaller ones? You just stick to, mainstream?
Do you want me to go first or?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta pick one of us.
Sorry.
I use Signal, and it's just a messaging app, and also WhatsApp. That's another messaging app that I use. Besides that, can't really think of anything.
Yeah. WhatsApp is a good one. It's kind of taken over like my regular text messages now, actually. It's like I use it more.
Yeah, a lot of people use it.
Yeah, it's just so helpful. And you can use it on your computer too. Yeah. How about you, LJ?
I use Clubhouse a couple of times. It's like, have you heard of that?
Oh, yes. I've had my rounds with Clubhouse for sure.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Because like they'll put you like in a group chat with like celebrities and stuff, like chat rooms with celebrities, and they'll talk about like how they made it and stuff like that, and like what steps they took and like stuff like that. So it was cool, like from that perspective. But like I didn't really use it that much, but
I feel like Clubhouse has had a very quick rise and fall. It's been like 3 months, maybe 4 in like the period that they declined. They could have been so great. They had a really great foundation, nice idea, but wasn't fast enough. So yeah. So I think, so how do you, Ben, since you're not as active on social media, I guess, how do you think social media has shaped our generation compared to previous generations?
That's a really big question to answer.
It is. We can break it down. Maybe like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Well, I think in a lot of ways it's made us more susceptible to misinformation, but it has done some good things like highlight just how much framing goes into the information that we receive via mainstream media, like the news and television, movies, etc. Like it affects a lot of how our culture is viewed now.
For sure. There's
like by ourselves, like by our own citizens. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Sorry.
No, those are just 2 things. I could go on, but
there's a documentary that I watched. It's called The Social
Dilemma. Yeah.
Yes, The Social
on Netflix.
You've seen
that
it?
was actually, yeah, I've seen it. I was actually about to bring it up, but go ahead.
It ever since I saw that, it completely changed how I see myself on the internet. I used to be a social media manager, actually. This past from like August 2020 to February 2021, I was a social media manager. When I tell you I've never been more stressed out in my entire life than I was doing that job. Like, I was getting gray hair, guys, okay? At age 22, that's just unacceptable in my opinion. Some people, they gray early, fine. But me, it was terrible. And so after I saw that documentary, I was just like completely blown away. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend it. It'll
Acting's terrible, but
forget the acting, okay?
The documentary itself was really good though, overall.
Yeah. So to those who haven't seen it, it's basically about how social media like AI has pretty much infiltrated our everyday waking lives without us knowing it, and how it causes great divides because on your page you're only seeing the stuff that's curated for you. You don't get to see the other side of the story, which is how civil wars are basically started, which is where they ended. On that grim note. Yeah, so you should watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Propaganda machine. But also it really, this past year is especially has highlighted just like the role of censorship that each of these, you know, corporate media giants plays or controls within our lives, you know?
Yes. How do you feel about like regulation for social media? I know I don't think there's not much, if any, right now. So if you were to regulate it, how would you go about doing that?
Well, let me flip that around and ask you the same question. How do you feel about regulation of social media? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Oh, well, I definitely think that there should be some kind of thing involving minors, where minors are allowed to be seen, how they're allowed to be seen, um, websites like, or I guess portals, I would call them, like the dark web,
Mm,
some kind of financial, like fine or something for trading over there, especially when like,
mhm.
people's like organs, minors are involved. I definitely think that as far as privacy goes and location sharing, definitely think that there should be some kind of, I guess, barrier to
Mhm.
me. Every time I say anything on my phone, it like just talking about like Cheez-Its or something, and like a Cheez-Its advertisement pops up, that's scary. Okay, and I don't like that.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
definitely would like my conversations to remain private. I
signal.
definitely think that technology needs to be expedited as soon as possible, or just something taken away. Like we don't have to add new technology, new regulations. Can we just take away some of the stuff that they've already put in place, such as programs like similar to like Alexa, Siri, stuff like that? Because I would just not like to be eavesdropped on personally. Um, yeah, I have thought about this a little bit, but thinking about it like in depth honestly makes me a little anxious about how much of my life is not my own anymore. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think YouTube already has regulations on its website about how minors can be viewed.
Yeah, YouTube for sure.
But I don't know about the smaller ones, you know?
Yeah, like websites such as Twitter. I've seen minors being exploited on Twitter quite a few times recently, so that's a thing. Um,
Exploited in what way?
like inappropriate, like
Like
it,
touching?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So stuff like that is very uncomfortable, and that's definitely a
I'm
huge con. So when I was talking earlier about
glad I
like,
stayed off of there.
yeah, okay, so when I was talking earlier about like a con being like stumbling across stuff that like is inappropriate, like you don't want to see, like stuff like that. Definitely
Mm,
a con for me personally.
yeah,
Uh,
I gotcha.
yeah. So so LJ, what do you think, or how do you see social media like affecting our generation compared to the previous ones?
Um, just people trying to fit in. Like, I don't know if it's just our generation, but like, people trying to fit in, being someone they're not, just to create this image on social media. Like, but that's about it, really.
Yeah.
It's about real and fake.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a really good point
Yeah.
Like the
because there isn't as much like social cohesion in a way as a result of social media. Everyone seems to be in all of these different bubbles. There isn't just like a one news source anymore. There isn't a Walter Cronkite. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're getting your your media, whether it's your entertainment or your news, you're getting it from all these different sources, and they're all online. You know, and so it's hard to like, it's hard to actually be sort of in a, like, it's harder to find yourself in a group socially in the real world nowadays, you know what I mean? Than it is online.
Yeah.
And so
No,
I definitely, yeah, sorry, second that point.
no, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. That makes so much sense. Especially like, I don't know, personally, I've been in that exact situation. When I was younger, I was really big on Twitter. And I found like my people, I guess. Like I didn't have people like that in high school that I could relate to. So I found like a community on Twitter. And then going back into person and like interacting with my classmates and whatnot, it was very forced. It just wasn't the same because I felt more comfortable talking with these people who actually like shared my interests versus people that are kind of surface level to me, and
Mhm.
I've seen that a lot, like especially on TikTok. Now I don't use TikTok personally because I just refuse to get sucked in again. Okay, because
Yeah, I've heard it's really addictive.
yeah, and I just couldn't do that to myself another round. But people that I know that use TikTok, I've heard them say that it's very specific, like the interests and whatnot. And so when you find like your TikTok community, your TikTok family, those are people that you actually consider to be like part of
Oh,
your
okay.
family and whatnot. And so when you go out in public, um, people don't get the references, they don't get the inside jokes or whatever because you've spent so much time on your phone within like this concentrated area. So
Yeah, and so like it's harder to relate to people if you do go out, you know? If you're making references to things that they're like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Sorry. So it's just, yeah, I totally get it.
yeah, it's a whole thing for sure. And so Kyasia, I want to pose you the same question as well. How do you think social media has changed our generation compared to the previous generation?
We know technology and they don't. No, I'm just just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I love those that are that come before us. But
Yeah.
I mean that's one for real. And then I think just the lack of identity. I really agree with what LJ was saying, just like not, just not being who they are. And I really feel like that's like
Yeah.
a big thing on social media is we just lack identity. Like when Sharon brought this idea to me, the first thing that came to mind was the lack of identity. Like we don't know who we are. And I think it helps when you do know who you are, you can't get sucked into all the extra that comes with social media, be it like how Ben said, news sources, entertainment, whatever the case could be. You're safe and secure in who you are. So it's just kind of like something to do for passing time. It's not anything that you're going to really take serious. So I think like just the lack of identity, I feel like those that came before us have a better like knowing of themselves. I mean, there's some, unfortunately, that don't, but I think the bulk of them do because they weren't engulfed in having to sit and look at a screen and talk to someone, or they weren't engulfed in typing emails or anything like that. I mean, they would use the phone, but if I'm not mistaken, I feel like I've heard stories before from just like my grandparents and great grandparents, stuff like that. And even my own parents were like, you couldn't always be on the phone, where we had eventually, excuse me, by the time I was in middle school, I no longer was dealing with the whole minutes thing. It was, I got unlimited data. I'm on the phone, all day, all night, whatever the case could be. Well, they didn't have that luxury. It was like, you got 5 minutes, or it was, I'll see you at school. It wasn't, we get to communicate, I'll see you at school, or I'll see you on the block, or I'll see you at church, whatever the case could be. So I think just the lack of just knowing how to communicate effectively and efficiently, like we just have totally blocked that out. We just want to, I mean, even me, I don't even like to text. I don't like to, any of my friends were to ever tell you guys, I like to FaceTime, and I'll FaceTime you whether you're busy or not. I mean, you just decline it if you have to, but I'd rather see your face because it makes me feel like I'm in person. But rather than text or even talk on the phone, I like to some way, somehow interact, just see your emotions physically, So just, I think that's where we kind of lack is what we get technology as far as how to handle different things and run computers and phones and stuff. But we also don't know who we are because we've allowed social media and what the world decides to say who we should be, dictate who we are. So we can't, we walk around with a facade every day, which is not healthy and it's not good and not cool.
Yes, that's so
Like,
true.
sorry.
Go ahead, LJ.
And like our generation, like our first, like when we meet someone, we're like, what's your Instagram or what's your Snapchat or something? Like you don't even ask them what their name is. Like at first, you gotta like see the proof. Like you gotta stalk their page first, and like so it can get crazy. Like I don't know. Like
Facebook stalking, right on.
yeah.
Very familiar with that. Yeah, it's like as like not a greeting, like a farewell. It's always like, especially for the first time, what you said, I don't want your phone number. Just give me that Instagram. Okay. Let me go through the tag pictures, all of that.
Right.
Yeah. And I think going off of Kyaja's point, I think as soon as people learned that you can make money on social media, the whole groupthink, loss of identity, just got like 10 times worse because now everyone wants to be that one blueprint and make all the money, get all the sponsorships, you know? So that's a whole different thing. I do think it's cool that you can make money on social media though. Like I have tried many a time, but it's just
Wait,
not
do
my
you think
thing.
do you think people are trying to compete with each other more in a cutthroat way now that people have realized they can make money off of social media?
I think so. I see Kyaja, you're nodding your head as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'm really big into like YouTube and I always have been. Like I like to watch people's vlogs and all that type of stuff. And I have since before it was popular now. I was watching it when it was people were using like Nokia phones and stuff like that, you know, like so and so I think a lot of people that were in that field and in that, you know, that platform, they moved over to like Instagram and Facebook. And I think now where it was just something that was supposed to be fun as far as just showing your life or beauty and makeup or clothing, like, you know, hauls and different things like that. I think now it's become a competition, like, you know, who can make the most money or who can get the most sponsor deals or who can
Yeah,
or
but
who
there's so
can
many other
sponsor
platforms
first.
though.
What'd you say?
There are so many other platforms out there besides Facebook and Instagram,
I
right?
think, but I think the type of people, so I think this is how it is. And I think social media, they paint this thing where you have to be like 5'2", 135 pounds. That's even kind of too big. And you got to have straight hair. And you got to know how to do your makeup. And so that was like who I was seeing on YouTube. And so now these people, like I said, are now going to Instagram. And that's the type of people that these I guess companies want to sponsor them. If you think about it, if you look on your commercials and stuff, you're not
I mean,
seeing,
I was just gonna say, that's not something that's changed. People were doing that with magazines and shows on television before social media took off, you know? I don't
Yes,
think that's something that's really changed all that much.
well, I mean, I think it's just gotten a little worse because back in the day, I feel like no one was in competition. It was more of a, you know, hey girl or hey bro, whatever the case is, like you look nice. They helped each other. Everybody helped each other. Where
Okay.
now we're not
You're
helping.
talking about like there wasn't a personal financial gain for each individual.
Right.
Posing,
And it
okay.
also wasn't random people we were seeing. Like, I mean, I can look at my neighbor. She's probably an influencer and I don't even know, you know,
Yeah.
where we were back then, it was like they saw, you know, like Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, Marvin
Yeah.
Gaye, Luther
I
Vandross,
thought you were
all
referring
famous
to
people.
like the media making people feel bad about their bodies, because like that's happened since.
No, but I think it's just gotten
Yeah.
worse. I think they're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
reverse it now with, you know, people being natural. Nice hair, Bobby, by the way. I think they're trying to just like, you know, we still haven't fully adjusted to the whole not, you know, being so harsh on the image portion. I think we still are there. But it's gotten worse. I think, like I said before, it was more famous people, or now, like I'm saying, it's people that's walking down the street that are like influencers out of nowhere, and then they're competing with, you know, I don't know, even their siblings. It's just really, really strange. I don't know. I just think it's just gotten worse. And I think, honestly, I wish I was born in like 1960. I mean, let's.
Yeah, now you're talking. I do think
maybe a few years later. just a little.
little bit removed. I do think
Just
off
a
of that
couple
point,
more.
there have been
Gotta wait for 65, you know? Sorry, go ahead.
no, okay, sorry.
Things got a lot better after that.
Yeah,
Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
pros and cons to both eras for sure. I do think based on like the influencer point,
I love that I got on Shay with that one. Sorry, go ahead. I shouldn't keep interrupting. Go ahead.
I do think that there have been more opportunities for inclusion in that sense. I mean, yeah, the big ones always look the same, you know, but I have seen more people come up that you wouldn't necessarily see like on the cover of a magazine. Like I saw this one girl, Jazz. She's on BuzzFeed or was on BuzzFeed. Now she's like on As Is or whatever on YouTube.
Okay.
She's like a really huge like body posy influencer. And I know like some of these marginalized influencers that aren't part of the mainstream media, they have been picked up by brands such as Fenty Beauty, Ricky Savage. Honestly, Rihanna, she's just out here doing it for everyone, for real. But especially like platforms such as Milk Makeup. They also have gotten on the body posy train. But also part of me feels like it's just like performative, you know, like just because everyone is crying for inclusion.
Oh, it absolutely
like, oh gosh,
is.
well, we're gonna get canceled. Our Instagram account's gonna get suspended because we don't have three people with brown skin, 2 people that are size 16. This person doesn't have freckles, you know, stuff like that. And so like
literally all the companies are doing that.
Right. It starts
just to save their bottom dollar.
Yeah, just to save themselves. It starts off as a good idea, which I like to see, but then sometimes I feel like companies exploit these movements just for the sake of social media, which is highly frustrating.
I'm sure for some of them it's genuinely like them trying to be inclusive, but for others it really is a very performative thing.
You can always tell though. I feel like companies that like Fashion Nova, they got called out a few times.
Yeah, it ain't happening with any of the banks. I'll just tell you that.
You know what? Forget them. So stuff like that, and yeah. So that's the thing. But other than that, I do not have any other questions to ask. So Sharon, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I do. Thank you for asking. So I am in that age group of over 60. And I've heard the most interesting talks that you guys are saying. And thank you for sharing everything that you're saying, because it really helps me. And I am glad in the era that I did grow up, because we did have personal interaction and transparency. And that's what I think that's not happening so much on, with social media. But it's good. Okay, it's technology and we have to move forward and all that. But I would just say, in closing, the power of suggestion is strong, on social media. So you have to ask yourself, who's shaping your values, okay? And know who you are so that you don't compromise. You got to keep your integrity, don't compromise your character, because that's going to follow you and that will define who you are. And, we can get caught up in some of these, places that are not really standing on the truth. And that's what I see on social media. You can't believe everything anyway, even the newspapers or the reporters or what's being reported. But so you have to, seek the truth. And it all comes down to seeking the truth. And of course, this is the Rose of Sharon ministry. So we are always sharing the truth. And we're, in this month talking about shifting our focus. So I love the conversation that you guys have. And I just have to add to keep God in the balance of all of that. Okay, that's what I'd like to add. And I want to thank you, Bobbi, for co-hosting. Great job. And the interaction, you guys were so great. Thank you for your time, for your patience. And, before we close, you guys have any last words you want to share with us?
I'll just say it was a shame we never got to talk about censorship.
Okay, do you want to say something about that quickly? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's been a real problem with the way that individuals have been attacked on social media and have been, attempted to be silenced.
Hmm.
And it's all very, I don't know, it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, especially considering that it's affected our culture in the way of people have been self-censoring. And I think that's a little problematic sometimes because it keeps people from being honest with each other.
Mm.
And I think honesty is what leads us to a better place in terms of sharing perspectives and learning from each other. But that's just my opinion.
Are you like referring to like cancel culture? I'd say.
Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, yeah.
that's a fit. That's a whole.
I mean, some people are genuinely scumbags and like, okay, like you deserve to be canceled, but like other people, it's like, who really gets to decide? You know what I mean? Who really gets to decide who should have a voice and who shouldn't? That's where it gets to be like kind of a slippery slope. It's like, you're dealing with a little bit too much power here.
Yeah.
And the thing is like that it really is like it's like all of these people that are involved in this cancel culture, it's like they're on a small boat in an ocean and there's all of these riptides. And every once in a while, one of them just falls over and then they get eaten up just as quickly. They get swallowed by the ocean just as quickly as the people that had fallen off previously that they had gone after, It's like, oh, you're a piece of shit. And then they turn and you're like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. What? When did this happen? It's just, it happens real quickly. And so I think and that's another part of the reason why I've stayed away from it. It's just like, I just don't engage with it,
Yeah, there is a layer to it that is kind of scary. I have deleted a lot of my old tweets. I have searched keywords, delete. Okay, I'm not trying to lose my job. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like
10
and that's
years
where it's
now.
problematic.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it could lead you to losing your job. Like you can just be taken from a job just like that because of something that you might not even have meant. You could have just been joking around.
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah, that's really serious.
There definitely is some gray area to that. Like
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But it's just like I'm saying it's weird because it's something that was not a thing a decade ago. Like this did not happen as well, at least not as much. Like if it were something that like a White House scandal or something is just like, oh, okay. But I mean, like, just.
No, I get what you're trying to say, and what you mean.
Yeah.
There's definitely
Like,
some gray area to, I feel like depending on the scale.
Yeah, like Bill Clinton being impeached sort of thing.
Like the accountability aspect of it, like there's a lot of different examples and whatnot that we could talk about, but I know LJ, you
yeah, go ahead.
No, it's fine, Ben. I know LJ, you had unmuted yourself. Did you have something that you wanted to say about this topic?
Oh, no,
or a different topic, which is fine.
No, I'm good.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool then. Kyasia, did you have something that you'd like to add? Okay.
Oh, I don't.
I was just gonna say thanks for having us.
Oh,
Thanks for having
thank you
me,
all for coming and being available and giving us an interesting and your heartfelt thoughts. It was very enlightening. And again, Bobbi, I want to thank you for leading this very much needed conversation. I believe we've all learned a lot today. So as we close the Family Word Table Talk, we never, because we're a ministry, we never close without offering prayer. So if that is you and you need a relationship with Christ, can you please pray with me? If everybody will close their eyes. Dear Lord, and just repeat after me. Dear Lord Jesus, I need a relationship with you. I ask you to come into my heart and be the Lord and Savior of my life. I ask for forgiveness and I thank you for your grace and for your willingness to help change my life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Now, if you have said that prayer, we want to welcome you to the family of Christ. Okay, and also for the Rose of Sharon, we want to let you get in touch with us. Okay, so we want you to connect with us on our media streams. It's coming up on the screen right now. Wow, that's beautiful. So our guests, first of all, as you see, our co-host was Bobbi Rozann Broome. We have Ben I, LJ Turner, and Kyasia Goodlow. Those were our guests. Now, if you want to connect with us, you can do so through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. And our email, which is the Rose of Sharon Ministries, #2@gmail.com. So again, I want to thank you all. We love you. And Dr. Rose is not with us, but she would surely give us these last two words. Bobbi, do you know what those last two words are?
Wait, no, they're slipping my mind.
Okay, well, there's two of them, and I'm just going to repeat them to you. And she would say, be good.
Oh, right.
Okay, whatever you do, be good. And I add, and do something good for somebody else. So until next week, please join us for the Rose of Sharon Family Table Talk. Stay thirsty for it, in fact. All right, God bless you. We love you, family. Have a great week.
You
Bye-bye.
too, bye.
Love y'all.